Hello and welcome back to goldstocktrades.com. Today we have a special guest with us, David Salisbury. David is chairman of Passport Potash. Passport can be traded as PPI on the venture, and it also can be traded as PPRTF on the OTC QX. Thanks, David, for being here with us today.
Pleasure to join with you.
David, could you give my readers a background on the functions and the importance of potash and the outlook on potash going forward?
I'd be glad to. In a world where we see continued population growth and potential inflationary effects, food is going to be a very important commodity. And if you look at the Asian portion of the world, particularly India and China, other parts of Asia, increasing populations with consistent areas of land will require increased yields of their crops in order to feed those populations. And potash is an important ingredient to that. Potash adds significantly to the plant's health, giving the plant greater stamina to avoid drought conditions or stress under weather conditions. It also improves the quality output of the products produced in that crop, in all particular crops. And so there is a continuing interest, especially in Asia, to find security of supply and at reasonable prices. In the U.S. imports 90% of its potash for use. And so we see this as a market that's going to have continuing growth. Now, there is presently sufficient supplies in the market, but we believe that continued growth and demand will create opportunities for new operations to come in particular, operations that are apart from the two major producers, which tend to be market dominators and market controllers. So Asian companies are looking for production that gives them security of supply at reasonable costs. And that's where I think Passport Potash has a unique position.
David, let's talk about Passport's Holbrook Basin assets. What is so unique and what are the advantages there that Passport has?
Well, the Holbrook Basin was discovered back in the 1960s under an oil and gas exploration program. But subsidized prices in Saskatchewan and around the world really didn't create a market for its development. As prices have risen, it becomes now an economic and viable development opportunity for us. And the basin is well suited because, number one, it's relatively shallow compared to most deposits around the world. We're about 1,000 feet below surface, so this means substantially lower capital costs than most mines in the Saskatchewan area. It's probably unprecedented in its situation close to infrastructure. We have one of the best double-track railroads in the U.S. that actually have 6 miles of rail frontage on our property. We have power just a few miles away, a power station with ample capacity. We have water resources. We have a human resource that's in the area that's easily adaptable to a mining operation, and it's situated on private and state-controlled lands, so there's no federal permitting required. So these are all advantages we see that give us an edge over properties when we compare similar characteristics to any property around the world.
David, I was excited to see that your background, that you were, before you came to Passport, you were the leader for the Rio Tinto Global Improvement Program. Tell us what you did there at Rio Tinto and why that's a very good experience to have for Passport Potash as you come closer to this PEA.
Including my career with Rio and other parts of my career, I had the opportunity to develop new mine operations. This Passport would be my 4th new mine development. Most recently within Rio Tinto, I was the president and CEO for the development of the Resolution Copper Project, which is scheduled to be the largest copper producer in North America, a $6 billion capital project. Additionally, my focus in my career has been on the improvement of operations and turning operations around and making them profitable. So what I bring to the table for Passport is a substantial background in the development of new projects, from early engineering all the way through construction into commencement of operations, the ability to look at how operations function efficiently and apply my learning from a wide variety of different operations for that, and the knowledge of an international business environment. I was the managing director for Rio Tinto's Rosling uranium operations in Namibia, and one of the achievements of that was acquiring the first ever contract to deliver nuclear fuel into China. So my ability to work in international business environments and understand the atmosphere there and how we can bring both domestic and international players into participate in the Passport project, I think, are quite important for this project to move forward.
David, let's talk about some of the key milestones that Passport has made in 2011 and 2012. And let's look a little bit ahead towards 2013. What should we be looking forward to?
Well, let me take you back just a little bit further. In 2008, the company really got started. And from 2008 to 2011, Josh Blake, our president, was quite successful in consolidating a formidable land package. I think one of the best that exists in the Holbrook. It is the best in the Holbrook Basin. From 2011 and 12, we've engaged in a comprehensive, aggressive drilling program to prove up a resource that will sustain and make possible an economic operation. So as we've drilled on both state lands and as we've drilled on private lands and come to agreements to acquire in time private lands that are there, we've put together a package of about 141,000 square miles, of tremendous potash resource. One of the most significant accomplishments has been to reach an agreement with the Native American tribe, the Hopi Nation. Now, the Hopi tribe own 18 sections of private land, not reservation lands, so they're not trust lands. These are privately held lands that were acquired in a land settlement dispute that they had. And this opportunity provides for them a alternate source of revenue for their tribe. So we reached an agreement with them early in the year to get access to drill our state-controlled properties. Later, we reached an agreement to drill a joint program on their properties, which is now underway. And in just a few days, we'll be releasing a preliminary economic assessment that will include portions of their land. Now, that drilling program is still going on. We have another 11 holes to drill. That'll be done in 2013. But that really consolidates an outstanding mining block in the southern portion of our holdings that will be one of the key areas for early development. In addition to the PEA, or the drilling program, we've been working on the PEA, and as I mentioned a moment ago, it's due to be released in just a matter of days. And so people should stand by to see that. I think they'll be very impressed with the quality of the project and the potential for this investment and its long-term viability. In 2013, we'll continue drilling. We need to continue to solidify the resource base that we have. We'll also move very quickly from the preliminary economic assessment directly into more aggressive engineering studies that will move us towards a pre-feas and feasibility study so that we've got tied down exactly what the costs are and the engineering for our project. So those will be our major focuses. The other thing we're working on is all the preliminary information for the environmental permitting, which we will begin applying for during the latter part of this year.
David, could you talk to us a little bit about the local and state support for the project?
Arizona is probably one of the most stable political environments you'll find anywhere in the world. It is a mining state. It's the major U.S. copper producer, so very familiar with mining environments. The Holbrook Basin is a relatively remote area. Just north of us is the Navajo Indian Reservation, which is the largest in the U.S. But the population there have been predominantly ranching, and so there's a relatively high level of unemployment. In one of our neighboring communities, a paper mill that's been operating there for a number of years underwent bankruptcy and complete demolition. So there's a viable, ready to go to work human resource component that makes this a good project. And the communities have been just extraordinarily supportive of bringing this in. They look for the opportunities for current working age and future generations to be able to stay in the area and to have employment. And this mine is critically one of their most important objectives now to bring it about. So we just welcome the strong support we have from the communities.
David, as we conclude, could you summarize the key advantages to Passport's potash deposit compared to some of your peers?
I'd be happy to. I think the number one is that its relative shallowness compared to other projects means that there's lower capital cost required to access the ore body and to bring it about. Now, our mining will be done by conventional mining, which means we'll get relatively high recovery. We'll have good control of the ore coming out of the mine, and that gives us then a way to produce in an economical fashion. In addition to its low cover, outstanding infrastructure. Rail sources, they're very close. We have power very close. We have natural gas that's available to us. We have sufficient water resources that we control through the owned private properties that we have. A good portion of our land is royalty-free, which means we'll have no royalties to pay on this as we've acquired these private ranches. So if you look at that, and then the human resources that I've already mentioned, if you look at all of those components, this makes Passport one of, if not the best, opportunities to see potash developed anywhere in the world. Stable political environment, and in the heart of a domestic market that already imports 90% of its products. So, and easy access to ports if we do need to go to an export position. So we think we're very well suited, very well positioned, and we're aggressively moving the project forward to bring it in production as soon as we can.
Well, David, thanks for being here with us today and for giving us an introduction into the Passport Potash story.
My pleasure. Happy to be with you.